Welcome to Catholicsplaining. Prepare yourself. You're about to be Catholicsplained. Today we're going to be Catholicsplaining the Fifth Commandment. Usually I have been doing videos, but I decided, hey, let's do it live. And of course, a blessed solemnity of the most holy body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, Corpus Christi. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being on my first live stream, those that will be listening on the replay. So we're just going to dig right into it. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're in 5. I believe 1 in the introduction you will need to see on my old channel. So if you're interested in that, I will probably be putting that in the description. But here we go. The Fifth Commandment. What is the Fifth Commandment? That's not it. That's the commentary. That's the problem with going live. That's the commentary. So the Fifth Commandment is you shall not kill. You shall not kill. Sometimes translated as you shall not murder. There it is. You shall not kill. You shall not murder. We're going to be going into what that means. Jesus gives a little bit of commentary. You have heard that it was said to the men of old, you shall not kill, and whoever kills shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be liable to judgment. That has to do with the first commandment, and the Catechism of the Catholic Church explains it very much, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now, because there's more to it than just plain old killing. And I hope I'm okay to say that on YouTube. Catechism of the Catholic Church 2258. Human life is sacred because from its beginning it involves the creative action of God, and it remains forever in a special relationship with the Creator, who is its sole end. God alone is the Lord of life from its beginning until its end. God alone is the Lord of life from its beginning until its end. No one can under any circumstance claim for himself the right to directly to destroy an innocent human being. Let's see. No one can under any circumstance claim for himself the right directly to destroy an innocent human being. Got it. No one. And the key word here is also innocent human being. We started off with Cain and Abel. Catechism of the Catholic Church goes into that detail, but we are not. We all know the story of Cain and Abel when he murdered his brother out of jealousy, out of envy, out of pride, all of the 7 deadly sins. And it was bad. God was not in favor of that. Catechism of the Catholic Church 2260. The covenant between God and mankind is interwoven with reminders of God's gift of human life and man's murderous violence. For your lifeblood I will surely require a reckoning. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. That's another key. God made man in his own image. And we're talking about here, check out the keywords, human life and man's murderous violence. We're talking about the culture of life versus the culture of death. And if you really want to go into something completely awesome about that, check out St. John Paul II's, the culture of life. He defined it perfectly. 2263, the legitimate defense of persons and societies is not an exception to the prohibition against the murder of the innocent that constitutes intentional killing. So you have a legitimate right to self-defense. However, that cannot go into murder. And one of the key words here is innocent, intentional. Intentionally killing the innocent is murder. The act of self-defense can have a double effect: the preservation of one's own life and the killing of the aggressor. The one is intended, the other is not. Okay. So you have a right to legitimate self-defense. You need to preserve your own life and the killing of the aggressor. Now, the killing is different from murder. So you do have a right to legitimate self-defense, even if it means ending their life. Gosh, I hope YouTube doesn't get mad at me for these words, but this is religion. 2265. Legitimate defense can be not only a right, but a grave duty. So it's not just a right, but it's your duty for one who is responsible for the lives of others. The defense of the common good requires that an unjust aggressor be rendered unable to cause harm. For this reason, those who legitimately, keyword legitimately, hold authority also have the right to use arms to repel aggressors against the civil community entrusted to their responsibility. So you not only have the right to defend yourself, you have the right to defend others. Here, I'm going to turn this off. There we go. But what is moiter? Unaliving, infanticide, fratricide, parricide, and the murder of a spouse are especially grave crimes by reason of the natural bonds which they break. And we all know how infanticide is being done. It's something that starts with an A and ends with shun, and has the word bort in the middle of it. That is murder, because they are always innocent. Fratricide, killing your brother. Parricide is that killing your parents, and the spouse are especially grave. Well, because you're breaking the bonds. Of course, anytime you kill intentionally, that is bad. Concern for eugenics or public health cannot justify any murder, even if commanded by public authority. So this includes the Fifth Commandment. This includes you shall not murder. All of these, including eugenics and things of public health. There are many things that I probably can't say on YouTube, so I'm not going to go into it. But included in this is euthanasia. All right, that's another thing. It's murder. All of these are murder. Also, experimentation. Things that they do with embryos. And this leads also to scandal. Scandal is also a form of murder. This is more spiritual murder. Scandal is an attitude or behavior which leads another to do evil. So you're breaking the Fifth Commandment if you lead someone to do evil. The person who gives scandal becomes his neighbor's tempter. He damages virtue and integrity. He may even draw his brother into spiritual death. Scandal is a grave offense if by deed or omission another is deliberately led into a grave offense. So that's another form of murder. If you lead someone else into murder or someone else into a grave offense, someone else into mortal sin, then that is breaking the Fifth Commandment. Ethics. Oh, I talked a little bit about this, but I'm skipping through some of the details, gory details here from the Catechism. But yes, we're dealing about the ethical issues, and that includes eugenics. And it also includes kidnapping and tort with a yor. That also breaks the Fifth Commandment, even though it may not necessarily lead to the final destination. It still is breaking the Fifth Commandment because it's all tied up with that. Respect for the dead is included. Let me go back here. Oh, I don't go into the details, but I think that you understand respect for the dead and things that can be done that do not respect the dead. That does not include legitimate things like autopsies, etc. That's a different ball game, but you all know what I'm talking about. So respect for the dead. Catechism in 2302, this is referring to also what Jesus said when he commented on it. Anger. What is anger? Anger is a desire for revenge. Wrath, I think, is a better word than anger. So, Mr. Person who translated this into English, it should have been wrath, because you can feel anger. To me, anger is an emotion. What they're saying is anger is a desire for revenge. So, I think wrath is better. To desire vengeance in order to do evil to someone who should be punished is illicit. Yeah, vengeance is not a goal, vengeance is not legitimate, but it is praiseworthy to impose restitution, to correct vices and maintain justice. So, vengeance is different than justice. If anger reaches a point of deliberate desire to unalive or seriously wound a neighbor, it is gravely against charity. It is a mortal sin. The Lord says, everyone who is angry with his brother shall be liable to judgment. Yeah. So, vengeance versus justice. You are allowed justice. Injustice. Excessive economic or social inequalities, envy, distrust, and pride raging among men and nations constantly threaten peace and cause wars. The root cause of war. Everything done to overcome these disorders contributes to the building up of peace and avoiding war. Yeah. So if you want peace, work for justice. That's what Paul VI said. See, Pope Paul VI, is he canonized? I forget. Injustice. So we need justice. Social and economic equality, not equity. That's different. Envy. What's the opposite of envy? I forget. This is what happens when you aren't raised a Catholic and don't have to memorize these things. Distrust, trust, pride, humility. Maybe that'll be one of my things. The sin, the mortal sins, rather the deadly sin versus the opposite virtue. And then I'll memorize it. So yay, everybody. And where do you do this? How do you do this? Well, who am I? I'm just here in my community hanging out. Well, obviously, I can't do anything about it. I'm not a president, prime minister, or something, but I can do that within my own community and work toward it. Voting, I think, is also a part of that I can maybe do it, but that might be a different ballgame. Oh, and that's it. But let me add one more thing that the church goes into, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, that I'm not sure YouTube wants me to go into, is capital punishment. In general, the church now is against it, and it's not necessarily that the church has changed the teaching, but the whole purpose of it is kind of being made, how do I say this? Not redundant, that's the wrong word. So because if you are in a developed society and you have a way to incarcerate someone, then you don't need to do capital punishment. It's legit when it's done in the sense of self-defense. But if you're in a place where you can legitimately have ways to incarcerate people and they don't get out, see, that's part of the other problem. So that's where you will find the Catholic Church being, quote unquote, against capital punishment. Why, hello there. It is Mad Dog Conroy for watching, but none in chat. For watching, but none in chat. Well, that's fine. I'm happy for anyone that is here and hopefully listening to me and enjoying this. And thank you for coming over here and making yourself known. So yeah, so that's the end of the Fifth Commandment. I really would love to go deeper into this, but because of the subject matter, it's pretty intense, and maybe we don't need to do that. But if you want to go deeper into it, of course, look into the Catechism and some of the encyclicals. Definitely the culture of life. The culture of life versus the culture of death. And yeah, I think it's funny. I went into the next slide. Well, let's read this because we love C.S. Lewis. We love J.R. Tolkien here on Catholicsplaining because he Catholicsplained the Petrine claims. I myself am convinced by the Petrine claims, nor looking around the world does there seem much doubt which, if Christianity is true, is a true church, the temple of the Spirit, dying but living, corrupt but holy, self-reforming and re-arising. Yay. Yeah. What does he say? But for me, that church of which the Pope is the acknowledged head on earth has as chief claim, that is, my goodness, you are so smart, I'm having trouble here. But for me, that church of which the Pope is the acknowledged head on earth has as chief claim that it is the one that has, and still does, ever defended the Blessed Sacrament, and given it most honor, and put it, as Christ plainly intended, in the prime place. Very appropriate for Corpus Christi. Letter 250. Feed my sheep was his last charge to St. Peter, and since his words are always first to be understood literally, I suppose them to refer primarily to the bread of life. That is a devotional interpretation. Oh, and then we have the conclave schedule. Those are other things I did on my other channel. All right, that's the end of my presentation here. Let me get out of this, stop the screen. I want to thank everyone that has been watching for watching, considering the size of my channel. That's fantastic. Thank you. I love you all being here. And even if there was one person, I would love for you to be here, because I am nothing without the audience. And I hope maybe that I can help Catholicsplain to you. As always, in the comments, put something that maybe you would like Catholicsplained. I'm going to be coming up with different topics. We have Mad Dog Conroy. Thank you for being here and letting yourself be known. I appreciate it. And if you are interested in my more nerdy stuff, please subscribe over on Miss Martin Muses. And that's that. Oh, Stephen Ransom is here. Hello. Thank you for making yourself known. Definitely appreciate you being here. Fifth Commandment. So we have it all down. We have the first commandment. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other God before me. Second commandment. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Third commandment. You shall keep the Sabbath and keep it holy. Honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. 4, honor your mother and your father. Honor your family. Honor your parents. And honor all of them. And then the 5th, you shall not kill. Shall not murder. Next week, oh boy, that one's going to be fun. We're getting into adultery. I may have to use a lot of code word for that. Well, it's time for me to go. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a great day, and be certain, definitely do not break the 5th commandment.